Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for the CanHack 2022 launch event. We've partnered up with RBC once again to bring you this fantastic event to all of you tuning in across Canada. My name is Naveed Tagari, and I'm the Strategic Program Specialist here at the DMZ. For those that don't know, the DMZ is a world-leading incubator for tech startups around the world. We help startups build great businesses by connecting them with customers, capital, experts, and a community of entrepreneurs and influencers. For us, this means creating an environment where you can focus on scaling your business. We'll help with the rest. For those that don't know, CanHack is our mission to engage and educate diverse Canadian high school students in cybersecurity with a free web-based game competition. This program is based on the Pico CTF platform developed by Carnegie Mellon University Cybersecurity and Privacy Institute. The competition will address the cybersecurity and privacy skill gaps in Canadian security. For those that don't know CanHack as a whole, CanHack 2022 is an online cybersecurity challenge for Canadian secondary school students run by the DMZ here at Ryerson University in partnership with RBC. Carnegie Mellon University has based the program on the Pico CTF platform to compete in the Capture the Flag style competition. And I'll touch on Capture the Flag just in a little bit. There will be a series of challenges centered towards a unique storyline. Participants will use reverse engineering, break, hack, and decrypt, and do whatever it takes to solve challenges. This competition is open to all students from grade 9 to grade 12 for all Canadian secondary schools, regardless of prior experience. The DMZ has been running CanHack for over 5 years now and has supported over 6,000 secondary schools comprising of 1,567 teams with over 400 schools with community organizations. We've partnered up with 24 workshops with inspiring cybersecurity leaders for students to acquire hands-on training and support. And CanHack has also supported over 1,000 women identifying participants, empowering them to take a lead in tech while distributing over 31,000 in prize money to Canadian students and schools. For this year's CanHack, there'll be a total of $11,700 up for grabs for the top 3 teams, in addition to the highest scoring female team. A little change to this year is that the school collectively with the highest score will win prize money for their respective school. I know I talked a little bit about Pico CTF, and for our first timers here today, welcome. For those that don't know, a CTF is a type of security competition, and CTF stands for Capture the Flag. Contestants are presented with a set of challenges that test their creativity, technical, and Googling skills, and problem-solving abilities. The challenges usually cover a number of categories, and when solved, each yields a string called a flag, which is submitted to an online scoring service. Again, by popular demand, we have the CanHack Cybersecurity Badge. Participants will receive a digital badge when they pass the quiz based on the workshops and participate in the Pico CTF CanHack competition. A lot of our workshops are virtual, which you've already seen, as well some have been recordings, along with some of our panels that we've held, like our Women in Tech panel and our Women in Cyber panel, along with our Jobs in the Cyberspace panel. The digital badge will represent the student's successful completion of the CanHack workshops with a passing the quiz. This is a great opportunity for you to put it on your resumes for future jobs that you may be interested in, as well as for those that may have LinkedIn accounts or looking to get one. So the next thing I think I need all of you to do is get your phones out to learn about this Twitter competition that you do not want to miss. As you scan the barcode right now and see the details for this, you will have from March 15th to March 29th to tweet us here at the DMZ, hashtag CanHack 2022 and at the DMZ to increase your chance of winning Apple AirPods. Don't forget to engage with us throughout the event tonight, as we'll be tweeting live for a better chance to win bigger prizes. So with the help and support of RBC, let's get started. CanHack and the competition as a whole. Without RBC, this competition would not be possible. And so from the RBC team, we have Barbara Walker. Barbara Walker is the Senior Manager of Strategic Partnerships and Innovation for Global Cybersecurity at the Royal Bank of Canada. And here today will provide us a little bit about the launch event. Barbara Walker has over 25 years of experience in financial services industry, working in banks, mutual fund management companies, insurance firms, full service brokerages. She's also worked in tech firms like Logitech and as well as consulting organizations like PwC. Barb has had the good fortune to lead a phenomenal team internationally with many of our responsibilities. I would like now to give the floor to Barbara Walker.
Hi, everybody. Just doing a sound check. Can you hear me?
Yep, Barb, go ahead.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Hi, everyone. On behalf of RBC, I want to welcome you all to CanHack 2022. We're excited to kick off our 5th year as national sponsor and in partnership with the DMZ. We're all very happy to be a part of CanHack. As you know, cyber attacks and breaches where companies and individuals become victimized are in the news every day. And the consequences of these attacks extend beyond the digital world, and they're having real life impacts. Digital is everywhere. It's every part of our lives. I mean, just think about the last Uber you ordered, or maybe today you got lunch from Uber Eats, just like my teenagers. Then shared a photo of it on Insta, scrolled through TikTok while you ate, and trust me, I get it. I lose hours each day on TikTok. Our world is online and fast, and because of this, being cyber aware is more important than ever. As the cybersecurity landscape evolves each and every day, our approaches to protecting Canadians today are different than they were 5 years ago, and they're going to be vastly different 10 years from now. So ensuring that Canada is prepared to address this coming challenge requires collaboration between industry, government, and academic institutions like Ryerson and the DMZ. And Canada needs young talent that understands its growing digital environment and is cyber savvy. This is why we're super excited. What better way to learn more about how these things happen and how to fix them than a cyber capture the flag competition? So, as my good friend Nav mentioned, participants like yourself must break, hack, decrypt. Really, you're going to do whatever it takes to solve the challenges. You're going to get an opportunity to practice skills in computer forensics and cryptography. You'd never know I work in this industry, trust me. Reverse engineering and so much more. So it may feel intimidating, especially those big words that I just rolled off my tongue. But we have RBC cybersecurity experts here to mentor and guide you through the challenges, and they're joining us on this call today. In the past events that we've hosted, I can safely say it was as much fun for them as it was for the students. Our mentors are still talking about how impressed they were with the skills that the students demonstrated throughout the competition. You guys really keep them on their toes. So I'm not going to lie, they're probably practicing as we speak just to try and stay ahead of you. Throughout the competition, who knows, maybe the bite of cybersecurity will spike your interest for a career in the future. Cybersecurity really is a cool, interesting area to work in, and there is so much opportunity. The demand really is high. We need more people who want to work in this industry. And RBC is committed to building a diverse workforce for the future and helping to bridge this gap by encouraging young people such as yourself to become excited about cybersecurity. It's got a lot of potential for your future. We value diversity, and in cyber, it's especially crucial. Diverse thoughts, opinions, and skills are essential in order to continually build cyber resilience. Complex problems require creative solutions, and RBC recognizes this. We're excited that we can encourage more female high school students to get involved in CanHack, especially this year. And we have a dedicated prize, as Nav mentioned, for the top female team. So I'm so glad that you're all involved. I encourage you to use all of the resources you have access to from CanHack DMZ and our amazing mentors. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to welcome you today to yet another exciting year at CanHack. We really look forward to watching you compete, and good luck. Thanks, Nav. Back to you.
Thank you, Barbara, and thanks for your kind and insightful introduction. And thank you for you and the RBC team for your unwavering support for the CanHack competition. Up next, we have Emily Smiley speaking on behalf of the DMZ, who is our head of programs and investor relations. Emily is responsible for the development and execution of our DMZ startup programs. Additionally, Emily connects startup founders with funders where she sees potentially opportunities, helps startups with fundraising strategies, and works with investors in the DMZ network, as well as connecting with new investors interested in the DMZ. She's led business development campaigns and supported fundraising plannings and execution at an early stage SaaS startup. Emily brings a diverse range of experiences in high growth startups, in the corporate sector and public sector organizations. I'd like to now pass it off to Emily Smiley.
Hi, everyone. On behalf of the DMZ, I want to welcome you all to CanHack 2022. We're so excited to be in our fifth year of CanHack. With cybersecurity attacks like malware, phishing, and ransomware being daily occurrences, there's a greater need than ever before for the talent in cybersecurity space. With this, There's really significant opportunity for young folks like yourselves to make a big difference in this rapidly evolving field. The CanHack competition is based on PicoCTF, a computer security education program built on a capture the flag framework created by security and privacy experts at Carnegie University. You will learn to overcome a set of challenges from 6 domains of cybersecurity, including general skills, cryptography, web exploitation, forensics, binary exploitation, and reversing. The challenges are all set up with the intent of being hacked, making it an excellent legal way to get hands-on experience. I have to say, many of our startup founders at the DMZ began in similar positions to you, young people interested in discovering a bit more about technology and very eager to push the boundaries. I would like to take the opportunity to also acknowledge the CanHack partners and really thank them for their hard work. Firstly, to RBC for making the CanHack competition possible and for their ongoing and unwavering commitment to promoting an engaging way for students to learn cybersecurity skills. Second, to Carnegie Mellon University Scilab and the PicoCTF team for your support and this PicoCTF platform. Cybersecurity is an exciting and evolving field. The need for all kinds of talent and people in the space is only growing. There will be many different career paths within the cybersecurity space in the future. And as we grow to be a digital first society, the need for people within computer science and beyond computer science will continue to grow. We hope you will consider a future in cybersecurity. With that, welcome again to CanHack and good luck, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you, Emily. And that concludes our notes from Barbara and Emily. We will now hop into our panel for this afternoon. Our discussion panel will be moderated by Christian. Christian is a second-year computer science student attending the University of Waterloo. He first learned to code with a friend in grade 8, and from there he decided to take computer science and engineering courses in high school, where he was also part of the robotics team and helped create their high school computer science club. He enjoys partaking in computer contests online, as well as participating in hackathons. One hackathon that Christian has been a part of is CanHack itself. I will introduce all our panelists for this afternoon, and then I will hand it off to Christian. Introducing our first panelist, we have Nancy, who is a senior developer and advocate for the GitHub Security Lab, where she helps security researchers and developers collaborate and communicate better. In her spare time, she co-leads OWASP DevSlop project with a member of the AWS Community Builder Group. Nancy was named one of the top 20 women leaders in cyber in Canada in 2021. Our second panelist is Fahd Khan, who is an industry veteran with more than 25 years of cybersecurity experience with network equipment manufacturers, managing security service providers, financial services, and government agencies. As the CSA and 12 Dot and 12 Dot Labs, Fahd is responsible for product strategy, architecture, deployment, and service delivery. His focus has been on governance, product development, and research in multiple sectors in both public and private sectors. And over his time, Fahd has been granted 5 patents and has 9 patents pending. He's also working on developing standards related to security risk management, blockchain, cloud computing, mobile, smart grid, and IoT. And lastly, we have Nicholas Johnston, who's been a professor with the School of Applied Computers in Sheridan's Faculty of Applied Science and Technology since he completed his master's degree of information from Davenport University in 2011. As a digital crime and computer forensic investigator, Nick consulted with and provided services on multinational corporations in the financial, manufacturing, and government sector. He's also had the ability to work on web application developers and IT technicians for several firms here in Toronto. In his current role as a professor at Sheridan in the Computing Diploma and Degrees program, Nick focuses on course related to information security, software development, and web design. And Nick's independent research on cutting edge on digital forensic analyst techniques and secure software development practices allow him to contribute to a curriculum and course development projects for several Sheridan programs. It's my pleasure to introduce Nicholas. Christian, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much, Naveed. It's always a pleasure to be here. And as you know, I started getting involved with CanHack in high school, and I had so much fun participating in the contests and working with the team and solving these problems, as well as like doing the workshops at the DMZ for the years that I did it. So I'm always looking to get involved with this event in any way I can. So here I am yet again. So thank you for bringing me on. Nicholas, I'd like to ask you first, what is the journey that you had that led you into the field of technology and cybersecurity?
Yeah, great question. So I hope everyone's good for story time, because that's what this is going to be. So towards the end of my own high school career, honestly, my grades weren't great. The one thing I was okay at was a little bit of programming. And I played a lot of video games, and I did learn how to code a little. So unfortunately, all my applications to university got denied. But I thought, well, you know what, maybe I'll try a college program and I will try programming. Partway through that program, I wrote an assignment that was supposed to just display some data from a file. And I thought that was a little boring. I thought, hey, what if I can display the data from a whole bunch of the files from all the computers in my house? And I showed my prof, and he said, I think you wrote a virus. And I said, well, what's that? And he kind of told me a little bit about cybersecurity. And from then I was hooked. Then I went and I did a bachelor's degree in cybersecurity. I was fortunate enough to get a co-op. Always look for co-op opportunities. Oh my goodness, they're so good.
Agreed.
Doing computer forensics and some investigations after data breaches. I love that. I kept doing that after I graduated and while I was working on a master's. And then I got the opportunity to do more kind of security consulting work, penetration testing, looking at software, telling people where vulnerabilities were, things like that. And eventually, after that, I got into teaching because I wanted to share, what I had learned. I realized there was a big gap, right? We need people, educating and getting more people into this industry. So that's how I got to where I am. Hopefully, that answers your question.
Yeah, and I guess when you're teaching these classes, what are some of the key takeaways that you want to leave your students with, or at the end of the term, or with specific points that you tend to stress throughout the course that you teach?
Yeah, great question. So it does depend on the various courses. Like we, in malware, we might focus on different stuff than we do in forensics, but ultimately, we want to make sure we're always focusing on risk, right? All cybersecurity is ultimately just about risk. Should a company do something or not? Should a person do something or not? Because too often, we talk about cyber and maybe we focus too much on business and companies. Cyber impacts people in our home just as much. So issues around privacy and things like that are just as important. So we try to touch on those things. A big one is, you don't need to be a mathematician or a computer scientist to be excellent at cybersecurity. We need so many different skill sets, and you can understand cryptography. You can do all these kinds of things without being a mathematician. Other things we like to focus on, this industry changes daily. So keeping yourself up to date through constant education and learning is really key, really critical. Getting involved. I often try to get my students to start, following people on Twitter. A lot of cybersecurity news breaks on Twitter. So start following people, start reading blogs, start reading news, because that's the only way to stay up to date in this field. Because when they leave my classroom, some of the stuff that I might have taught them, we could have a breakthrough in cryptography research, and the things I talked about last week might be useless the week later. So it's on them to stay up to date. And those are things that we really like to focus on.
Yeah, I agree completely. And it was my teacher who actually led me to cybersecurity through CanHack because it was an extracurricular and he wanted to get his students involved with this sort of thing. So he really pushed that on us, which is great. So it's glad. I'm glad to hear that you're doing that as well.
Excellent. Thanks.
And Nancy,
Yes.
I would like to ask you, what kind of journey did you take that led you into this field?
My journey. Right after school, I had one of, if not one of my top two jobs, the one I have right now and the one I had then was basically working for the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, in the special investigation department. So basically we were spying on bad guys and basically and finding solutions to do that securely. And I didn't call that security at the time. So basically collecting information, making sure that it wouldn't leak, because when you're working on an investigation, until people are charged or even arrested or the trial is on, all that information is private. And if you lose it, if you leak, you can compromise a lot of people's lives and money that was invested into the investigation. So so that was a huge responsibility, but I still wasn't aware that I was doing security, even if I was, working on the confidentiality of the data, the integrity of the data, the availability of the data. It's only later that I realized that I was doing that. And at some point doing that, I had a lot of fun, but I don't know why I thought that, because I was dead wrong, but I thought that who needs these skills, right? Like I'm working with technology that nobody has heard about. I'm working with tools that nobody has ever touched. I'm like, my skills are not transferable. It's not true, but that's what I thought. So I guess I got a bit greedy, I would say, and ambitious, and wanted to move on to another job. And then when I was exploring other IT jobs, turns out that when I was reading security, I'm like, oh, I guess that's what I do. I guess I could be good at that. And that's how so before that, I've never had security in my title, but then I switched into a very specific cybersecurity role. And that's how I got my start in cybersecurity. So basically, I think the takeaway for me was sometimes you do. First of all, security, a secure system and information is everybody's job, but sometimes you don't even have to have that in your title to be part of the community and be part of the goal of securing data and information.
Yeah, that's great. And I agree completely. It seems that you're really passionate about security systems and practices as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's part of everybody in the industry is kind of passionate about that.
As they should be, of course.
Yeah.
So I also heard that you're named as one of the top 20 women leaders in cybersecurity in Canada in 2021. So could you tell us how you're able to accomplish this and how others in the audience or people that are participating can get involved in leadership roles?
Yeah, well, just like Nick mentioned, is to get involved. I think I'm like a bit of a serial organizer and always wants to make things better or say, or organizing events and networking. So that was my way of leading in cybersecurity. I think there's other ways to get involved, but I think just getting involved, not only the community, the cybersecurity community has a lot to give, but when you're not only there to take, but also to give back, it will give back to you as well. So just by getting involved, I think in my bio, you mentioned that, or you mentioned that I do the OWASP DevSlop podcast or show. So basically every week, second week, I meet security professionals and we talk about, like, they teach us something new. So just by getting involved, I'm not on camera that much, but just by getting involved and talking to all these people, I built an awesome network. And that's how I got my current job now, working at GitHub Security Lab. So somebody said, oh, you're looking for a developer advocate for GitHub Security Lab. And I know Nancy, I've worked with her well, and DevSlop, doing that show and talking to these experts is not my paid job. Like it's solely something that I do for fun and that I enjoy doing. But I got someone who worked with me who enjoyed the experience and said, oh, I think Nancy would be great for that other job that you have. So sometimes, finding your path is not always planned, and just doing your best and having fun and enjoying what you do and focusing on what you do best, you'll find your way.
That's good to hear. And I'm curious, how long have you been doing the podcast for?
Actually, seriously, 2 years. About 2 years that we decided, let's not do it every 6 months. Let's try to have to be consistent and to do it every second week or every week. So most Sundays we're on YouTube and we're going live and we're meeting all sorts of interesting people from all the different specialties in the industry.
That's great. And now I'd like to hear from you, Fod. So as the other panelists mentioned, I'd like to ask you, what journey did you take or have that led you into this field?
Sure. So I think mine's maybe a little different. So I started just electronics young I built my first radio when I was 8. And I used to play with electronic kits and stuff like that. My dad used to bring me home these electronic kits and stuff. So my first foray into like tech was just self-taught, learning how to make circuits and test circuits and blow things up. And my parents would buy me toys and I'd take them apart because I wanted the components inside. So that was my first foray into that. I got into computers just by kind of default, right? I mean, back when I was younger, the computers that we had were things like Apple IICs and PET Commodores. That's what I learned how to code on. I taught myself what's called assembler, because what we could do back then, we didn't have like all the CPU, we didn't have RAM. We had 64K of RAM to write things in. We actually had 37 on Commodore 64, but if you wrote assembler, you actually got 64. That's why you learned assembler. And so you could actually write applications and things like that. And that's what we did. And so that was how I kind of started. So I knew at a young age tech was going to be like in my future. Got into a program. Now at the time, I I was thinking engineering, I was thinking like other things, comp sci, but then I actually took a business program because I really loved business. But my major was at that time information systems, and I was able to get a co-op role. And my first kind of foray was writing code for mainframes, and I loved it. And the company I was working for loved me and said, "Hey, we know you're a student and you're doing co-op. Would you consider a full-time role?" And they are like, "But you still have to finish school and you still need to get a minimum mark and all kinds of other stuff." And I said, "Sure." You know, I was young and I said I could do it, right? And but they said the job's in security, and I was like, "Security? What the heck, security?" I'm like, and then they said, "Well, you know, people try to break into our computer systems." I'm like, "They do? Like, who does that? It's kind of weird." So that was my first kind of intake into it. And at that time, like what I focused on was what was called signal intelligence. So I was fortunate to spend some time with a lot of people who specialize at what I would call like the national security level on signal intelligence. And that's how they were attacking our data centers for the company I was working for at the time. Because back in the old days, companies used to have their own data centers. And they were basically being attacked by things like fax machines and dial-ups and things like that. And my job was like, because I was a young guy, I watched who was attacking us every single night and what they would try to dial and what they would do. And it was called war dialing. But it was really kind of cool. So that's kind of how I got started. And then, you know, I kind of jumped through companies. I got into the startup stuff and was able to do research and, you know, help build some companies. And, you know, that kind of led into the consulting company that I've now built. I've also got a couple other startup companies that I'm part of, like a co-founder and stuff. So I've got my hands in a few pots, but all around security and engineering. And it's just what I love. And I love breaking into things like where, you know, my current company, we're hired by some really interesting organizations around the world. And we're basically hired to break into their devices. And we do pen testing against hardware pen testing mostly, against chipsets and hardware components for things that you would probably use every single day. And we also do that for the defense sector as well. So we get devices from different units, and we're basically told how long will it take you to infiltrate this device. So if that device falls in the hands of an enemy behind enemy lines, how long would it potentially take them to get into the phone to get that intel or that device? And so that's what we do. And it's a lot of fun. And yeah, that's it. That's my journey.
You mentioned that you love breaking into things, and hopefully the participants of this hackathon also love that, or if they don't already, find their love for breaking into things and learning about stuff like SQL injections, pen testing, and other stuff like that.
Yeah, learn to code. Like if you learn code, you learn systems. That's like the easiest way. And because I was fortunate to learn systems, like it's just logic, right? Like if you just think about the logic that developer thought about as he was writing that code, that's how you basically attack it. And that's what we do, is we just look for potential mistakes that they made along their way, or something they didn't test, or just things like that. PLCs, right, or proof of concepts, and then we target them for those devices. And I'd have to say though, we haven't got to a system yet that we weren't able to get into it in any way, shape, or form. So that's always the fun part. And it's rewarding. It really, the team loves being able to do that. And I wish I got more time. I've got a younger staff now that takes care of and has all the fun. And I'm left running the business. So yeah, that's where you get to enjoy while you can.
I'm sure there's lots of fun in that as well.
Yeah, there is, for sure.
So Nicholas, I'd like to ask you now, what keeps you motivated to do what you do in your profession?
Oh boy. Okay, yeah, good question. So first off, I mean, this is, relatively speaking, cybersecurity is a new industry, right? So like, it feels like every day, every week, we're either discovering a new attack vector, a new technique, or something new gets broken, or we hear about a data breach. Like there's so much happening. There's so much new stuff happening constantly. And I'm just a person who's constantly motivated by that. I love to learn. I always want to know what's new and exciting. So that's a big part of it. I love watching like the creativity and innovation that's basically forced on us by by advances in technology. For example, again, we discover a crack in an existing crypto algorithm that we use to do secure bank transactions or something. If that happened, that could happen tomorrow with a little bit of research in mathematics, and that would force the world to like change overnight if we wanted to keep the internet as it is right now. So those kind of restrictions, that pressure fosters immense creativity, and I find that interesting. The second thing that really keeps me motivated is definitely my students. When they start out, it's great to kind of help them build that foundation. They start to learn about security. And then honestly, by the time they're in fourth year, they're teaching me stuff. And that's energizing. That's amazing. We have a big student cybersecurity club that's like over 700 members. And like they run events bi-weekly. And just to see the enthusiasm, the time and effort that they put into it, they just finished running their own CTF contest. And it's humbling to see that kind of stuff, and it just makes me want to work harder to help them and support them. So that's kind of, those are the two things that keep me going.
And what do you say the most satisfying thing is seeing your students succeed and like doing their own stuff?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, when they even connect with me a couple of years later, and they're like light years beyond me in some of the things that they do every day, and I'm like floored by what they're telling me. It's so satisfying. It's the best feeling. Yeah.
Nancy.
Yes.
What keeps you motivated to keep doing what you're doing?
Yeah, very similar to what Nick just said, right? Like it's so many things to learn. And I think if I go back even to when I got into computer science, it's just the fact that every time I had a problem, I felt like the solution was always technology. I know that it's more than that, but that's always like my first step is going, how can we fix this? And what are their tools? And there's always something new coming up. And, I'm on Twitter, like Nick was saying, and reading newsletters and learning about new tools. And so you now have possibilities to build different things. So just the fact that you can keep learning. Something else that keeps me motivated is the lack of awareness of the field as well, right? Like I'm old enough that it wasn't even called cybersecurity when I started. It was information security and then InfoSec. And, when I wanted to update my title, I mentioned cybersecurity. So it's just knowing that a lot of people don't even know that it's a field, and within that field, there's so many possibilities, whether you love to code or not, actually, which I do encourage people to learn how to code, but like there's different things like threat analysis and forensics. And so there's so many things that you can do, and just I get excited teaching people or matching people's skills to the different possibilities and asking them to try new things. So that's been super satisfying. And I don't have students, but I do have, like when I go to meetups and I meet these people and they try different things and they get a job in the field, and they write me back and they say, oh, when you told me to try Hack the Box or try Hack Me, and now I did the certification, and now I had my first role as a pen tester. That's incredibly like satisfying to me, and I feel very proud of them. The work is all theirs, but just knowing that I had a role into just letting them know that this is something they could do and find their path. And because sometimes, a lot of people get lost because they just don't know what they want to do with they have a lot of talent and a lot of potential, but they just don't know, they can't find their place. So I really have a passion to try this, try that. Have you heard about this field? And I think you would be good at that. So that's what I've been doing a lot of.
Yeah, and it must feel good knowing that you have an impact on these people, similar to how Nick does with his students.
Absolutely. And it's not expected, actually. And it's very surprising. And it's not something I planned. It's just, or that random LinkedIn message saying, remember me? We had that conversation. I'm like, I do remember you. And like, now, and tech careers are really life-changing, right? Like you can go from barely able to afford to having a decent job and build a career on that. And you can start, and it is accessible. Of course, I always encourage education, but education can come in a different form. And there's very affordable ways to get there, as long as you have the passion and the passion to continue and the fortitude to continue. So yeah, I always love to have these discussions to find a way to get to what you want. So big dreamer and loving to see people get there.
That's perfect. And I have also connected with some of my former teachers and mentors as well, just to stay in touch with them.
Yeah, please do. It feels great.
Yeah. Fawad, I'd like to ask you, what advice would you give to your younger self or to the audience today that are going to be in their CanHack journey?
I think to my younger self, security, I think like Nancy had touched on it, like there was no concept of cyber, right? Like a lot of people just thought you were a spy. If you kind of talked about what you did, like it was weird. And I think for kids right now, how I would look at it, it's such a huge opportunity. Back in my day, like trying to learn, and I think Nick and Nancy both touched on this, was the fact that there was no internet, right? I mean, I lived halfway across the city, and I would go downtown on a bus to the one smoke shop in our city would sell a magazine called 2600. And 2600 was the book that basically had the details. And I knew when it was being released, and I would call this one place, which was a smoke shop downtown in Ottawa, that sold it. And I would just ask them if that monthly issue was in, and I would go downtown and buy it, right? And that's how I started. That was the key resource I had at the time, other than the library, right? And there was no real books on security. There was stuff on risk. So finding ways to learn how to do this, and the CFTs are a phenomenally, great resource to have. So get those resources and learn about those resources, and start to get into meetups that are in your city, wherever you are. There are always meetups, and you will meet so many different diverse people. And I know sometimes that people are introverted, and I was really shy. I know I'm speaking lots today, but I was really shy as a student. But if you put yourself out there and you make those connections, you'll find your peeps, right? And when you find them, you open up. And I think that's what's happened. You find your voice. And with that, you start to exchange ideas, and you start to meet people, and you start to learn. And that's really that impetus where you can really grow as a person and as a security practitioner, right? Because you could be focused on, say, applications, and that's what your focus is on. But you'll find someone who's really into electronics, right? So if you run across this electronics thing, you're like, oh, I remember Joe I met at this meetup, and we connected, so I can just ask him these questions. And so for the younger me, I would have been, go out more. But given the time that I was at, I didn't have those venues. You have those venues now. So use them, exploit them, learn as much as you can, and exchange ideas. And I think Nancy had mentioned too, learning is not just about going to university or college or a program. It's about reading, it's about exchanging ideas and having that discussion. So I think that's what I would share with myself, is get involved with the community, because there's a lot of smart people out there that you can learn a lot of stuff from.
And was it from these people that you have spoke to in the past or even now that you get help from?
Well, what's funny is that I'm a speaker in a lot of different things right now. I do get to speak to students because I've been called upon by multiple different communities where I'm a speaker. So I'm grateful that I'm able to share what I've learned, right, in a lot of what I've been taught, and the stuff that we just do as a business, right? Yeah, we charge customers for it, but I give it away. I'd work for free if I could, right? I'm over the moon that people pay us to do this, right? Because I would do it for free, literally. For me, it's sharing. It's like if I can help someone learn something so they can protect themselves, so they're not being exploited, yeah, I'll do it, right? Money, we'll talk about after, but the thing is, how can I protect you right now? And that's kind of the way I run my business. And that's the way, that pleasure that we get out of helping our clients secure the products is, that's payment for me.
So I guess helping your clients and making sure that they stay safe,
yeah,
is that what keeps you motivated?
For sure, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, when we take, everyone thinks there's also this black science, kind of weird thing with security, and I think Nick was saying it's about risk management, right? So once you start to quantify things as a risk management exercise, it really helps you to break down those problems and say what it is and take the tech piece out of it, right? And then you can start to understand, okay, what's really at risk here? how am I using this technology and what are the inputs and outputs of it? If you start to break it down into those pieces, and that's what we help our clients do with their products, whether it's like healthcare devices, whether it's stuff that's military, whatever it is, like we just show them how someone is going to use the attack surface against them potentially. And that exercise that they can learn from it so that they don't necessarily always have to come to us, that their staff can learn from us during those engagements is huge, I think.
Yep. And now I would like to ask Nancy, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, we covered a lot of it. The networking is a big one. To try different things, explore conflicting advice. Try different things to know what you love, but once you find it, try to focus as well, because there's so many things. I've met a lot of people, sometimes they get so involved in different things that they never actually take the time to focus and get good at one specialty. You can switch over. You don't need to be pigeonholed anywhere, but I think it's worth to take the time to invest to specialize in one area in particular. But with saying that, I also think, especially the younger you are and the more time you have to explore the different areas of cybersecurity and to find the one that speaks to you most. So that's part of it. And how you do that is by networking, by actually trying it, not just studying. I know there's certification and there's CTFs and things like that, but building stuff and trying to be hands-on and not be as realistic as trying to do the real thing, so that you can. It's not just a theory, right? That you're building the right thing, and that you're building your portfolio as well, so that people know what you can do and that you're exposed to different technology and things. So that's what I would say.
And would you suggest that the participants of CanHack experiment with the different sectors within cybersecurity?
Can you repeat that? What's your question? Can you repeat your question?
Of course, yeah. So what do you suggest to the participants of CanHack that they go out and experiment in the different sectors within cybersecurity? Yeah,
absolutely. And just being part of CanHack, I think, is a great start, right? Like, because the challenges that you'll go through, they have different categories with cryptography, forensics, web app, and things like that. So those are ways to experiment and to realize that there's different ways to solve the same challenge, and also to remember that whatever skills you have, you bring with you. And what I thought for myself earlier in my career, that my skills was not transferable, that can be further from the truth. Wherever you go, just you just become a better threat modeler. Basically, you understand, okay, so what do I have to protect, or what do I have to protect, and how could someone who wants to hurt it or hurt that think, and you just become better at thinking about those things and at protecting your assets. And I think it's a way of thinking or that is beneficial for whatever you do, wherever you end up, whether there's cybersecurity or security in your title. So that's the way. And I'll mention as well, I'm again a developer advocate for the GitHub Security Lab, and we're all about protecting the open source ecosystem. And I find the open source world is a great opportunity for you to get involved and to learn. There's a bunch of interesting projects out there that need help, that are side projects, but that are essential and critical for things that we all use, government use, the army use, cars use. So you can really get involved into the open source project and do impactful work and work with really brilliant people, and a way to build a community. And I like what Fod said about finding your people. That's also a way to find people that have a common interest and have aligned goals that you can build your community with. So open source as an option. Yes.
Yeah. You get to see your contribution and make an impact at the same time.
Absolutely. Get your GitHub profile green.
And Nick, I'd like to ask you, what advice would you give to your younger self, or to the participants of CanHack as well?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, first off, I would definitely echo what Nancy and Fod have been saying about like getting involved. Just get out there, be a part of it. Like if I were to look at my younger self, who's about to maybe participate in Pico CTF, I would tell them like you've taken the first step, like signing up, showing up. That was step number one. That was the most important thing you could do. Beyond that, I don't know, maybe I'll go a little bit lower level. Like earlier, Nancy mentioned like Hack the Box. Resources like that, like Ring Zero, Hack the Box, Over the Wire, Try Hack Me. All these services are out there to like practice and test these skills, outside of a more bounded contest environment like Pico CTF. So those are out there. There's all kinds of great resources that you might want to use during the contest, stuff like cyberchef.com that'll help you like encode and decode values. There are great CTF write-ups out there where, people solve challenges in other contests. They do great write-ups. Sometimes that problem might be similar to the one that you're facing. So go and use those resources, right? They're all out there. They're at your fingertips. And lastly, ultimately CTFs, like, yeah, you can win, but CTFs are about learning. Take this opportunity now to just deep dive on a subject that's interesting to you. As like a quick tangent, I had a student of mine who he signed up for a CTF and he spent the entire contest working on one Android app reverse engineering challenge because it just captured him so much. And from then on, he just got so deep into reverse engineering, and now he does all kinds of code security and exploit development stuff. And it all stemmed from him clicking on that one challenge in that one CTF contest and just becoming like obsessed with that kind of security. So like you might discover your passion in the contest. So definitely like try everything. That's what I would say to, our, upcoming contestants and to young me, wherever he would be.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened to me. CanHack sort of just got me into the world of cybersecurity. My teacher gave me, he said the class has to solve like these 3 problems, and he said work on them, and we had a lot of fun doing them, and so we wanted to solve more. And then he got us involved for the rest of the years that we were in high school. So
amazing, that's great.
And Fod, I'd like to ask you, you are very involved in ISO standardization. So what makes you so passionate about being a part of the standards being set in risk management, blockchain, cloud computing, and other spaces?
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on that. It's really about giving back, right? I mean, I've been really successful in my career. And again, it's about that sharing, right? So if you look at what standardization really is, it's about, raising the bar, right? And so what we're doing is not necessarily everyone has the same skills and capabilities to do things, but by creating standards, what we're doing at the ISO level is creating the baselines for people to target. And so a lot of the standards that we're working on help you do that. I was the first writer of a standard 29147, which is on vulnerability disclosure. I was the editor for edition 1. And at that time, like what was called responsible disclosure was a war, right? And it was 5 of the longest years of my life to try to get that standard developed and published. But, we were able to find a consensus way to say, okay, here's what we need to do to make people aware of, a vulnerability. And that was a huge thing to do in the industry. So being able to kind of just live through that experience was, taught me just so much. But also, I look at some of the other ones that we're working on, and I mean, mostly around IoT right now, but, and blockchain and others. But really what it is just raising the awareness to it. And whether you implement the standard or choose to use it or not, right? By reading it, you gain the necessary knowledge to understand, okay, what are the things I need to consider to mitigate the risk for the specific technology? And so being able to just share that and bring that to the market is huge for us. Yeah.
Thank you. And Naveed, I'll hand it off to you. Is he?
Perfect. Thank you, Christian.
No worries.
I appreciate you taking those questions. Nancy and Nick, I think we had one more question left for each of you. And so Nancy, I'll start with you next. You were named one of top 20 women leaders in Cyber Canada in 2021. I know you shared you touched on it a little bit, but could you please tell us how you were able to accomplish this and how others in the audience could get into leadership roles or find leadership opportunities?
Yeah, I think Krishna mentioned it earlier as well. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but getting involved and just getting involved and give to the community as much as you take, because the community has a lot to give. So be known. And let me talk about maybe like branding. Basically, when you network, when people are looking for help, they think about their network first, right? So to be involved, if you go to meetups and you're part of your community and you let them know what you're passionate about and you show them, you don't just tell them, but you show them, you go and present, you go to your meetup, but you also volunteer to present. Then when people are looking for help in that area, they can think about you. So that's one way to get your name out there. And to be known and get some experience. And go back to a previous advice I guess I would give is to start building things and to create your portfolio and to get involved so that you have access to different technology and being able to show. When I'm talking to a lot of people the younger people who finish school or at the end of their studies and they're looking for jobs, and I always tell them to think, well, if you're an employer and you're looking for help, or even when you're trying to hire anybody in any field, what do you need? You need confidence that they're able to do what you want them to do and that they're able to help you. And for that, they need proof, and to be present and to have that portfolio are all things that help you be hireable and make people think about you when it's time for you to get a job. But at the same time, I think, like we all said, participating at these events and getting those skills are all things that are transferable skills that you can bring with you in your career. And whether you're in the pure cybersecurity world or not, we all need people with those skill set.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Fod, and thank you, Nick, and thank you, Christian, for moderating. Great panel, some great nuggets of wisdom for our students ready to embark on this challenge in a couple of days. And we appreciate you hopping on and taking time out of your afternoon. And we'll see you all soon. Thanks, everybody. On to our next part. We have our Samin, who is our cyber CanHack security consultant and our CanHack lead mentor. She's a cybersecurity consultant at Deloitte working in application security. Samina is also passionate about cybersecurity and ethical hacking. Aside from working in the industry, Samina enjoys participating in CTS and hackathon, and she's very excited about CanHack. She will now speak about some tips and tricks to help you support you with your challenges for the CanHack competition. Samin, off to you.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for introducing me, Naveed. Are the slides being shared?
Yep, they should be shared right now.
Sure. Just give it a minute for it to come up. So I just have some general tips for the challenge. The panelists talked a lot about, they gave a lot of great tips. So one of the first tips is, if you're ever stuck, don't be afraid to use Google. Google is your friend. You're going to find a lot of information that could help you or guide you in the right direction. When you're stuck on a challenge, you may understand the whole challenge, but there might be parts that are confusing. So don't be afraid to look them up. Always use Google, always search things up. It will just help you, guide you in the right direction. My second tip is teamwork. So I know for this competition, a lot of all the teams are very competitive and they're, focused on getting those points. So usually in the team, all the individuals are trying to focus on a challenge at a time and do that on their own. But there are some challenges that will require teamwork, the harder ones especially. And you know what, with teamwork, each person brings a different perspective to the team and each one has their own skill sets. So when you work as a team, you can solve some of those harder challenges much faster. So I really encourage everybody to work as a team when it does come to those challenges, especially in binary exploitation and reverse engineering challenges. Those can get really tricky. So if you're stuck on it, don't try to do it on your own. Use your team, right? The third is that we've built a really great resource hub that, all the students have had access to and the teachers have shared, and we've shared in all of the videos that we've been posting. So please do make use of the resource hub. on our resource hub, we have a lot of helpful links. We have videos for each of the sections from last year and workshops that we are doing this year that go through some of the challenges and talk about tips and tricks on how to tackle these challenges. Also, there's a lot of links to like useful tools that you could use during the competition that are free and available for everyone. And I think one of the tools that we have linked was mentioned, CyberChef. So please do check out the resource hub because there's a lot of helpful tips and tricks on there. Lastly, join the Discord for Pico CTF if you are able to, because there's a community on Discord of everybody from around the world who's participating in the Pico CTF challenge. And everyone a lot of times has similar questions. So if you may be wondering something, it might have already been answered in the Discord chat. And the Discord chat is very organized. There's different categories for each of the ones that are in the competition. So if, for example, you have a question from cryptography, you could post it in the cryptography chat, and people who have actually created those challenges are also there to help. So a lot of them, a lot of times they'll give you a little hint or they'll guide you in the right direction. So you don't have to feel stuck. There's a lot of, individuals out there that are going to help you. And I just wanted to mention some important dates that are key. So our launch event is obviously today, and the last day to register is March 13th. I encourage everyone to register ASAP to make sure if you have to get your teams to your teachers, get your teams to your teachers. If you're struggling, reach out to your teachers. Watch the registration video that we've put up on the resource hub and that the teacher should have shared with everybody. So please make sure to watch that video. It goes step by step on how to register for the competition. And the game starts on March 15th. And the last day of the competition is March 29th. So make sure that you have registered before March 15th on the last day, March 13th. And we're going to have a closing ceremony in April and announce the winners of the competition. And lastly, something exciting to announce, we also had this last year for the competition, but all students have access to RBC mentors. These are mentors who work in the industry and who are working with, hands-on and have experience. So during the competition, if you feel stuck, you can send an email to dmzcanhack@ryerson.ca, and where a mentor is going to receive these questions. From then on, they're going to answer the question, and the answers are going to be posted in this Google Doc that will be shared with all the students. And so as the questions come in that the students ask, all of the answers, or all of the, suggestions and tips and tricks that the mentors have will be posted in that Google Doc. So even if you don't have a question, it's, helpful to check that document because somebody else may have asked a question that you may have later on. So this is a good resource to also bookmark. And that is it. That is it for some of the tips and tricks I had. Make sure to use all of the resources available to you and reach out to the community that we have on Discord and the RBC mentors. And I'm going to pass it back to Naveed now.
Perfect. Thank you, Sameen. And thanks for those insightful tips and tricks. And thank you for touching on that mentorship. For all of us here, your teachers will receive a note by tomorrow on how the mentorship email will be working, and you will get that information. As we run on time, as we're at 4:59 here in Toronto, I thank all of you joining from coast to coast and appreciate it. I know some of you will be watching this recording. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. Once again, thank you to our teachers that are, great supervisors for our students to make this competition possible, to our partners, RBC and Carnegie Mellon University, and to our speakers today, Barbara, Emily, Nick, Nancy, Fod, and Christian, and Sameen for taking the time out of your evening to speak to us. For that, I wish all of you a wonderful Wednesday. Have a great day, and you'll hear from us soon. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.